I just want to say I really love Western medicine for what it does offer us for emergency medicine. I think it's phenomenal what it has offered, and I'm very grateful for it. And I think the dream, or my dream, would be like a holistic look, a holistic approach where Western medical doctors would respect and honor Ayurvedic practitioners or naturopaths and vice versa, so that there can really be a holistic view of, we can't just look at somebody and separate their body parts or separate their symptoms from their emotions, from their energy, from their entire experience as a soul in this human body.
Namaste. You're listening to the Sivana Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SivanaSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Sivana Podcast. I'm super excited about today's episode, which is about two of my favorite topics: how to hack your daily routine and Ayurveda. We have Ayurvedic Specialist Melanie Phillips speaking with us today. She is, in addition to being a clinical Ayurveda specialist, she's an energy healer, she's a teacher training, and she's created her own method called the Madhuri Method. It's an 85-hour Ayurvedic yoga training. Very excited for her to tell us about that. And she's also the co-author of Your Irresistible Life, 4 seasons of self-care through Ayurveda and yoga practices that work. Melanie, thank you so much for coming on and being with us today.
Thank you, Brett. I'm delighted to be here.
So I know we're going to talk daily routines and Ayurvedic hacks in your daily routine, which I can't wait to dive into. But before we do that, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell us how you came to Ayurveda, just a little bit about your journey, and then how it developed into this method, the Madhuri Method, that you're going to tell us about?
Sure. So I came to Ayurveda through yoga, essentially, and I came to yoga through a dance injury. So I was training as a dancer and studied 4 years of contemporary dance at university here in Vancouver, and ended up getting injured. And that's what led me to study yoga, because I still wanted to move my body, and yoga seemed intriguing to me. But I realized early on in my yoga practice that, I was looking around going, gosh, my body's injured and I'm still quite young, and my body's going to change and fluctuate and get sick and injured and heal and all these things. And I realized that the mind was something that I wanted to pay more attention to. So through a whole series of serendipitous events, I ended up in India and living at the Bihar School of Yoga, which is essentially a yoga ashram, and studying yoga there and participating in karma yoga, in selfless service, sort of seva, for many hours a day. And my relationship with the Bihar School of Yoga developed over the years, and I would go back and forth, and I would take students there for retreats and trainings. But on one of my pilgrimages there, I got extremely sick, and I didn't realize how sick I'd gotten. When you're traveling, everything's a little bit wonky anyway, so it's like, I didn't realize I was so off my center, and I actually continued traveling through Asia by myself for about another 8 months. And when I got back to Canada, I realized that I wasn't well. I'd gone from being able to dance 6, even 8 hours a day. And when I got back to Canada, I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without feeling winded, exhausted. And I knew it wasn't right. And I went to all of the doctors. They sent me to the foreign disease specialist, who months later get me in, and I get in there for my appointment, and the specialist picks up his piece of paper with all the test results on it, and he just looks at it, and he looks at me, he's like, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was devastated, because I just was like, tell me what's wrong so I can fix it.
And during this time, were you throwing up? Did it feel like you have a stomach virus, or you just felt off? You just felt weak?
When I was actually in India, I had so many symptoms. I had nausea, I was vomiting, I was somewhat hallucinating. I think I had a whole collection of things that essentially, so what the specialist did say was, you have, your immune system's been wiped out. Essentially, you have post-viral fatigue syndrome. So it's a autoimmune condition, and there's nothing that we can do for you. So I left very distraught, because I was young. I didn't have the resources, financial or otherwise, to even know what to do. But I had learned about Ayurveda a little bit. So I went into that, and I ended up enrolling in a program to become an Ayurvedic practitioner, even though I didn't know I was going to at the time. I just wanted to heal myself. And in that 3-year program, I began to feel a little bit better and heal. But this autoimmune condition lasted for 7+ years. So it was a long journey back to healing.
Wow. And do you think you ever would have found out or discovered Ayurveda if it hadn't been through yoga? Because I feel like most people's path to Ayurveda comes through yoga, because that's how, especially in the West, we get our first exposure to this science. But I get curious about why that is and why it's not known more in its own right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I always say sooner or later, if people study yoga long enough, they're going to bump up into Ayurveda. And if people come in through the Ayurvedic door, they're going to find yoga. They're sister sciences. They're two sides of the same coin. And I think Ayurveda is growing in popularity. It's not mainstream per se yet, but it is growing in understanding and somewhat having a resurgence, I think, because we need this wisdom. It's timeless. It has nothing to do with eating Indian food or dressing in Indian clothes. It's really when we can distill the principles and philosophy of Ayurveda, it's timeless. And my belief is that every ancient culture on this planet was working with these philosophies. They were living in harmony with nature. They were going to bed when the sun went down and rising, and they were finding which herbs were good for what ailments. Like, this is universal knowledge.
I agree. I feel like it's having this resurgence because it helps people highly personalize their diet and exercise routine. It's highly personalized. It's not this like one size fits all approach. And let me know what you think about this, but I think it's also having a resurgence because, like you experienced, the modern medical system is failing so many people, either not being able to diagnose or figure out what's wrong with them, or not being able to help them in a way that really moves the needle in terms of their pain or their symptoms. Do you agree?
I think that Ayurveda gives us information that the way that the modern medical system set up just isn't. The time doctors have is not, 10 minutes appointments. It's like that in Canada. I don't know if it's the same in the US. There's not enough time to really understand the imbalance of the patient. So yeah, we just hand them a prescription and hope that the symptom will go away. But what Ayurveda does, it gets to the root cause. Like, what is the original disturbance? What is creating the disease, instead of just taking the symptoms away as a Band-Aid and then it coming up again and again and again. And at the same time, I just want to say I really love Western medicine for what it does offer us for emergency medicine. I think it's phenomenal what it has offered, and I'm very grateful for it. And I think the dream, or my dream, would be like a holistic look, a holistic approach where Western medical doctors would respect and honor Ayurvedic practitioners or naturopaths and vice versa, so that there can really be a holistic view of, we can't just look at somebody and separate their body parts or separate their symptoms from their emotions, from their energy, from their entire experience as a soul in this human body.
So you decided to pursue this. You do this 3-year degree, and tell listeners a little bit about what it really means to become an Ayurvedic specialist or an Ayurvedic practitioner, because I think there's confusion around that as well. It's like, is it just a nutritionist, or are they going to a special school, or are they certified in the way a doctor is certified? Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, so it's quite varied, especially in North America. In India, there's something called BAMS, where you're essentially an Ayurvedic doctor, and that's 7 years of study. In North America, there's no sure standardization as of yet. The NAMA organization, the National Ayurvedic Medical Association, is working very hard to establish, a standardized process so that when someone goes online and looks for an Ayurvedic practitioner, they know what to expect as far as, has this person just taken a weekend workshop, or have they studied for years? What is it? Because that's really important. It's same in yoga, right, Brett? Like we have Yoga Alliance, which is a registry, not a standardization, and one 200-hour teacher training compared to another could be drastically different. So it's similar in Ayurveda. In the United States, we're really working to create something more streamlined and standardized, but it's still in process. So I think the most important people seeking out an Ayurvedic practitioner is, know what you're looking for. There's some Ayurvedic practitioners who are very similar to allopathic doctors, just handing out prescriptions, albeit they're herbal prescriptions. In my own practice, when I I work with clients, whether that's in person or online, I'm really interested in the psychology because our psychology becomes our biology. I'm really interested in the mental, emotional aspects of what is making that person tick, what their beliefs are, and how that's affecting their cellular makeup and the flow of prana, of the energy through the body. Because whenever our energy system is blocked anywhere, there will be symptoms.
I think that's so great to share with listeners, and something I try to share with all my students as well, is it is very challenging for having also been in the massage therapy world. Massage therapy is licensed through our state and local government, and it's very clear. I mean, obviously you don't go to school as long as a doctor, but there is a system in place. And I think it is quite frustrating whether you're a practitioner or someone seeking a practitioner in this realm of yoga and Ayurveda and Qigong and Tai Chi, so many other amazing modalities as well, that it can be hard and a little confusing to often find the right person. And I think for people listening, referrals are a fantastic way, getting plugged into your local yoga community. I know that for me, anytime I've worked with, whether it's a Chinese medicine doctor or gotten Ayurvedic treatment, it's always been through really great references. So it sounds like your program was super comprehensive. You were there for 3 years, and you have some tips, you said, that you're going to share with us about how to kind of up-level our health throughout the day using Ayurvedic principles. And something you talked about that I would love for you to go deeper on was kind of what you just said, like your psychology affecting your biology. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I definitely want you to speak more to that as we go. So where do you want to dive in and start?
Well, let's give the listeners an understanding of some of the tools from Ayurveda that help to establish a daily routine. And this is so that your health can be up-leveled and you can come more into balance. So these are things, some of them are very simple and take 10 seconds. Some of them are take a little bit more time, but they're very practical and usable. I feel really strongly that Ayurveda has to be user-friendly in order for it, especially in North America, to be useful. Because if something's too complicated or takes too much time, most people won't do it. So I really love giving things like that you could give to your mother, that you could give to your dad, that you could give to a friend, that you can use yourself, that will be useful and that have a positive effect in the health. And some of these little things have huge difference. I had a client come in who had migraines, and we just shifted her eating, going from eating the raw salads and cold foods to eating more warming foods. And for her specific dosha or constitution in Ayurveda, she came back a week later and her migraines had gone. So it's just such a little tweak, but unless you understand Ayurveda and how it is, as you said, it's a unique look at each individual. So when we have that wisdom, it's profound. It can change our whole life. We're inundated with information from social media, on the internet, about the latest superfoods and eat this and this diet. And it's so generic and there's a lot of hype. And what I really love about Ayurveda is it's ancient. It's been around for over 5,000 plus years. And it works because it's based on principles, not like take this and everything's going to be okay, or like eat this superfood and everything's going to be okay. It's about creating an environment for healing to happen.
Right. It's not about these fads. It's really about getting deep and looking at each individual. And I think what you say about it being accessible, Ayurveda to me always seems like this interesting paradox, because on the one hand, I think a lot of people have this impression that it's almost too simple, because they're like, oh, there's just, 3 Vata, Pitta, Kapha, that's it. That seems sort of oversimplified. And maybe they take an online quiz and they're like, this is kind of ridiculous. But then for people, when you start studying a little deeper, as I know I have, and I'm sure many listeners have, all of a sudden you start going beneath the layers of the Vata, Pitta, Kapha kind of online quiz, start reading Ayurvedic textbooks, and my mind just blew up. I mean, there's so much information. I'm not going to remember the correct terminology, but there's, like subsets of, there's like 8 different types of Pitta within Pitta, and that connect to different organs and that have different effects based on whether, foods, what qualities foods have. I mean, my mind completely exploded. And then I think people maybe get intimidated the other way, where they're like, oh my gosh, this is way too complicated for me to ever try to figure out.
Yeah, it's multi-layered. And so it can be from the most simplistic things of, eat your main meal, the biggest meal in the middle of the day, because that's when your digestive fire is strongest, which we can all understand and relate to that, to the most complex. I mean, thousands of years ago, they've notated, it's documented that in Ayurvedic medicine, they were performing surgeries. Like this is how sophisticated the medicine is. And
cutting people open type
yes.
surgeries?
And it's amazing when I sit with my teacher, Dr. Ladd of the Ayurvedic Institute. He can speak in the most simplest term that a 5-year-old could understand. And then in a moment, he's, speaking to doctors and surgeons in the room and talking about the most intricate medical. It's so phenomenal to see. There's something for everyone. And it is so layered. On the surface, it does seem quite simple. Oh, these 3 doshas. But that's just scratching the surface of the deepest, infinite amount of wisdom, just similar to yoga, right? We start with yoga and then we peel back the layers and layers. And then all of a sudden you've got the yamas and niyamas. And then all of a sudden you're talking about moksha, about liberation and freedom. It's phenomenal. It's endless because these are both yoga and Ayurveda are tools for humankind, mankind, womankind to keep us healthy and to liberate us. So originally Ayurveda was designed to keep us physically healthy with our body, and yoga was the science of spiritual liberation. So that is the two. And now yoga seems like an exercise program to most people, but really it's a path to self-realization. So we needed Ayurveda, we needed the physical body to be as strong and healthy as possible so we could meditate, so we could put energy towards our spiritual practice, so that we could connect with source, with the divine in a clearer, easier way. Because we all know once we get sick, we're on that downward spiral, right? Like things feel pretty crummy when we're sick, even if it's just a little cold or something, or we can't sleep. All of a sudden the mind and the emotions get pulled down and down and down. So the purpose of Ayurveda to support our practice.
This podcast was brought to you by SivanaSpirit.com. In ancient Indian mythology, and even today, chakras are considered to be the most important energy centers in the body. It's been said that when all 7 energy points are aligned, deep spiritual development occurs. When the chakras come into balance, they bring harmony, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. In fact, sometimes when we feel off, it's really just these energy points that need to be worked on. Celebrate the 7 chakras with a beautiful must-have chakra tank. Printed down the spine with sophisticated metallic ink, the chakras are represented by unique hand-drawn symbols. You can add a pop to your style with elegance, all while reminding yourself of the deeper spiritual truth of our world. Use the exclusive discount code PODCAST30 for 30% off your first order today. Do you want a $25 gift card from SivanaSpirit.com completely for free? It's super easy. All you have to do is fill out a quick survey with 7 short questions, and then you'll be emailed your gift card to use whenever you're ready. This survey will help us better understand the most important thing in the world: you. Go to SivanaSpirit.com/podcast survey today and claim your reward. Again, that's SivanaSpirit.com/podcast survey. So people can engage with this on so many different levels. And I think what's great about what we're going to do today is we'll start simple and then maybe we'll go a little bit more complex as we keep talking. So I think it would be great to hear about some of these just kind of up-leveling Ayurvedic hacks that people can latch onto at the simplest level. And then let's go a little deeper because I know you have a background in energy medicine and you can tell us about that too. So talk us through the ideal daily routine according to Ayurveda.
Okay, so here's what is really cool to think about is that your day begins the night before. So even when we're thinking about our daily routine, your day, how you wake up is going to be dependent on last night, on what you ate for dinner, what time you went to bed, if you had an argument with your partner or not, or if you have a lot of stress before going to bed. We can understand how that all bleeds into the quality of sleep and therefore how you wake up the next morning. So the first thing to do upon waking, as soon as you're aware that, oh, it's morning and I'm awake, and I think this is the most powerful practice, in fact, is to set an intention. In yoga, we call this sankalpa. So this intention, it's more than just setting an affirmation and forgetting about it. It's about getting really clear about the direction in which you want your energy to move, so the direction in which you want your prana to flow. And it can just be one word of like, I want to experience peace, or I want to experience love or connection, and really setting that intention so that our day begins on that trajectory. Because otherwise, if we just wake up and start going on with our day, we're kind of like robots going through, we get up and we pour the coffee and then we're we're already worrying about the day or stressing about things. So the more that we can live intentionally and really get clear on that sankalpa right off, and using the same sankalpa every day so that it gets anchored in, and so that you use it throughout the day as often as you remember, not just once and then forgetting about it, but continually coming back. So it becomes a mantra that we repeat to ourselves.
So working with your clients in your practice, what kinds of intentions have you found work the best? Because I'm trying to think, I could see, as you said, it could be very broad, right? I want to experience freedom, to very specific, right? Like a very clear vision for your day or life. Can you give us any concrete examples? I mean, anonymized, but that you've seen worked well for clients or students?
Yeah, so first thing you need to know about sankalpa is has to be short, like no more than a sentence at the most, and in the positive present language. So say, for instance, if someone wants to quit smoking, the sankalpa would not be, I want to quit smoking. It might be something like, I'm the embodiment of health and well-being.
Right, you're focusing on the positive, not the negative.
And in the present moment, not I will be the embodiment of I am, so it's current, because the will be will always be in the future. I really love, for me, I've been working a lot with just really simple of like, I am love. That I am statement is one of the most powerful statements in the human language. And whatever we put after that becomes our identity. It becomes who we believe we are. So whether it's I'm an idiot, which the subconscious we might have those voices come out throughout the day, but I love I am statements. So I am healthy and happy. I am peaceful and at ease in my body. I am
relaxed and in the moment.
Exactly. I'm empowered and energized. So I invite people to just get clear about how you want to feel. What do you want to feel more of? When people come for energy sessions, sometimes I'll say, what's your intention? And they said, I don't want to feel pain. Like, well, you're still focusing on the pain. So if you don't have pain, how do you want to feel? So when we can focus on, okay, well, if I didn't have pain, well, maybe I want to feel relaxed or free in my body. So we have to go there, but it's amazing how we're conditioned not to, or we go to the negative.
And is this how our thoughts can have a ripple effect into the body?
Absolutely. Our thoughts, and especially the subconscious mind, which is actually running the show about 95% of the time, has such an impact on our cells and on our brain chemistry and the hormones in the body. The good news is that we can literally change the structure and the function of our brain now. Science and neuroscience, neuroplasticity is proving this, and also saying that we have like 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and that like 95% of those, or even 98% of those thoughts are the same as we had yesterday. So we're just regurgitating. We're just kind of on automatic pilot. But when we can consciously harness our thoughts and generate more good, then that ups our feeling. We can feel lighter. We can feel more buoyant. It ups our frequency, so to speak, our vibrational frequency. So everything is energy, and a thought is energy.
And with energy, like attracts like, right? So the more...
Typically, yeah. So yeah, the better mood you're in, then all of a sudden you're going to look around, your family's easier to get along with, and your coworkers, and vice versa, right? If we're in a negative slump, well, then all of a sudden we find ourselves bickering with our partner or getting cut off in traffic and giving someone the finger. And it works both ways, in the upward spiral or the downward spiral.
So these I am statements for a listener who is perhaps saying, okay, well, I could say I am grounded and empowered, but it feels fake right now. Is that okay? Do you kind of grow into these statements as you continue to say them each morning and use them?
That's a great question, Brett. I think what it has to be a little bit closer to the truth. Some people might argue with me on this, but energetically, say someone's in a really low point in their life and in a real heavy place, I would suggest for them, just find an I am statement that feels a little bit like it's stretching you, but not the flip to like, my life is perfect, where you're like, I just don't buy it. So it could be something that you can buy into, but is still a better feeling thought, that is still on the upward momentum. So it doesn't always, because what happens with sankalpa, with intention, if we're not energetically connected to it, it's essentially useless. So don't make a big leap. Yeah. So if it's really something like, if you're trying to tell yourself, I am love, but you have no sense of even appreciation or respect for yourself, that may not be the best sankalpa.
And it might not be the best to start with, which leads me to my next question. I wanted to ask you, how long do you suggest people stick with a particular intention? And is this something that's evolving over time? I assume it is, but tell us about that.
Yeah, I would stick with it until it becomes who you are. And then it will transform. You'll know. So don't flip-flop every day. It's not like, oh, I'm this today and that. Like, stick with it. It might be weeks or months or maybe even years. But stick with it, because when we are something, we don't have to declare it. It's embodied. So that's the difference and you'll know in yourself, people running around, I am abundant, I am abundant. Sometimes that's coming, they're completely in fear and scarcity mindset, trying to convince themselves, I'm abundant, but it's coming from lack. So the energy behind the statement is really what has the power.
So it needs to be this really authentic, genuine energy that you can connect with and really buy into.
Yeah, and some days you might not feel energized, but if you can connect, if there's a thread even, like if there's some tether to it that you're like, yeah, I can buy into that I'm moving in that direction, then I think that's a good sankalpa.
So you're suggesting people think of this in the morning when we first get up, and then that we continue to throughout our day. So it's not just a morning, one affirmation experience here. We're continuing to think this throughout the day. Can you give examples of moments throughout the day when you'd suggest people pull this in, or even tips for clients? Like, should we write it on our bathroom mirror? What do you suggest people do?
Anytime that the mind is idle, so say you're driving in your car, you're waiting in a grocery store lineup, anytime you have the impulse to check your phone, instead, stop. It takes 3 seconds, not even, right? To stop, to breathe, to take a few deep breaths, and to repeat that affirmation and to feel it. So it's not just the head. I recommend to clients sometimes to set an alarm that goes off on their phone, maybe once an hour, where they can stop, take a few deep breaths, check in, like, am I in alignment with my intention? Have I lost it? Have I gone way stressed out? Am I overwhelmed? And what can I do in this moment to come back to who I want to be and how I want to show up in the world? And yeah, you can journal it, you can write it down, you can put it on your computer where you can see it. But if you're seeing it, like, really take it in, because sometimes we just go blind to things after a while. If it's just on the bathroom mirror, then after a while we start ignoring it. So it has to be fresh. So if you have sticky notes, like, move them around every few days and be present with it.
Beautiful. Okay, I love this. So we're doing this throughout the day now is the first thing we've sort of layered in. What are your other up-leveling our day Ayurvedic hacks for us?
Yeah, so the next thing you want to do before you drink anything is scrape your tongue. Now, you can order a tongue scraper online or get one at your health food store, or for now you can just use the back of a metal spoon and scrape the tongue just gently down. You'll notice there's gunk on the tongue when you wake up in the morning. In Ayurveda, we call this ama, or toxins. And we don't want to drink this back down, because essentially these toxins have come up from the upper fundus of the stomach, and they're resting on the tongue because the body's trying to expel them, trying to get them out. So if you have this nice tongue scraper that's designed for this purpose, you just gently draw those toxins off of the tongue. Now, people ask me, oh, can I use my toothbrush to scrape my tongue? And no, the toothbrush is for your teeth and the tongue scraper is for the tongue. They're separate utensils. So once you've scraped that ama, that toxic residue off of the tongue, that's when you can go and drink some warm water. This will help to flush your systems, to cleanse the organs, and to also assist in peristalsis, so having a morning bowel movement, which is really important in Ayurveda. So you have some warm water. You can even add a little bit of lemon to it, or lime. Now, lemon is a little bit more heating and lime is a little bit more cooling. So depending on, if you're someone that feels really overheated or going through menopause, or you just know I've got enough heat in my body, then choose lime. Lemon is great for the winter time, for more vata types, the lighter, drier, colder types.
So we want to scrape our tongue before we even brush our teeth and before we even drink water. It's literally item number 1 that's happening.
Item number 1, scrape your tongue. Exactly.
Okay. And so I've scraped my tongue. I've rinsed off my tongue scraper, put it away, maybe brushed my teeth. I've had some warm water, maybe with lemon. What's next? When do people have that first meal of the day?
Yeah, so even there's other little things that you can feed in, again, not to overwhelm people, but there's the whole practice of oil pulling, which is swishing oil around in the mouth. You don't have to do that. For clients that have receding gum lines or oral hygiene issues or problems from the neck up, they may find better results with oil pulling. But it's not something that everybody has to do. The tongue scraping, I believe, is something that everybody should be doing, and starting their day with some warm water. So not boiling hot, not ice cold, just nice warm water. Then from there, meal times are dependent on appetite and digestive capacity. So digestive fire. So for kapha types, earth and water, they're heavier, more stable. They have slower metabolic function. Their genuine true hunger may not be at 7 a.m. It might be a little bit later. For pitta types, fire types who have a really strong metabolic function, might be very hungry first thing. So it really is eat according to digestion. But there's a couple things around that. The body loves routine. So eating at the same times every day is going to be most useful. And also waking and sleeping at the same times are going to be effective.
Great, because I had a question for you about that. So one of my other Ayurvedic practitioner friends who is in my teacher training actually taught me this really cool idea of the Ayurvedic clock and how there is like kapha time and pitta time and how that should really dictate when we're going to bed and when we're waking up in the morning. What are your thoughts on that in terms of when we should all be going to bed and waking up? Should it be according to this Ayurvedic clock, or is that something that can also be highly personalized? And again, keep in mind, we're living in the modern world, so getting up at, 5 a.m. for sadhana doesn't work for everyone, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the timing of our wake up and bedtime.
The answer to everything, to every Ayurvedic question is, it depends.
Right.
So it really does depend on the individual, but here are some markers for you. For Vata types, lighter, drier, colder, more thin, more nervous, overwhelmed, anxious, need more sleep because the nervous system is more delicate. So they need longer amounts of sleep. Kapha people, that are heavier, more steady, more stocky, more sturdy, they need less sleep but will want the most amount of sleep. They'll want to keep pressing the snooze button over and over and over again, but they actually need the least amount of sleep and should be the ones to get up. We have a daytime clock that corresponds to the doshas. So the early morning hours between 2 and 6 a.m. is the Vata time. And that's when often people that have problems with insomnia or waking up, they'll wake up between that 2 and 6 a.m., rolling around, sleepless, and that's the Vata time. Then we kick into the Kapha time, which is 6 to 10. So it is said in Ayurveda, if you can get up before the Kapha time kicks in, it'll be easier to get out of bed. So Kapha types that sleep in till 8 or 9, it's going to be really heavy because it's the heaviest time of day. And then for going to bed, in the evening time, we have the Kapha time of day between 6 and 10 p.m. And then from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m., it's the Pitta time, which is fire. Now, what often happens for people around that time, 10:30, they're like, oh, I got my second wind. I'm going to dive into this project, or I'm going to watch this on Netflix. And what really happens, it's an illusion of the second wind. It's the fire time of day is kicked in again. So we think we've got all this energy and we stay up doing things. But what happens if we're not sleeping during that time? That the organs that need to be cleansed in the body's own natural cleansing system, they can't be cleansed if we're awake or if we're eating. Think of it like a janitor coming in. Dr. John Douillard uses this analogy, and he says, it's like the janitor comes in the middle of the night to clean the room, but there's a party going on. So he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll come back later, closes the door and leaves, and then comes back an hour later to clean. It's like, oh, well, I guess there's still stuff going on here. I'll come back later. So it's the same. If we're not getting good sleep between the hours between 10 and 12, that's unfortunate. And I know in our culture and our society that a lot of people, are up till midnight. So I encourage clients to bring it back. Maybe it's just half an hour. And in the summer months, we have more daylight. So we have a little bit more energy to stay up later. In the winter time, going to need more sleep. So it really does fluctuate. But for most people, they can, by coming to bed earlier, it's going to really benefit their health and how they feel the whole next day. So the timing is important.
Everyone I've talked to in both Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine as well just keeps harping on me about that 10 o'clock bedtime. And I think it's really fun. I think it's a great goal. It's something I've definitely achieved for periods. But I'm so glad you mentioned the summer months, because as we're in summer right now, it is light out till so late. And for me personally, maybe for people listening as well, it makes it incredibly challenging for me to be cognizant of the fact that it's nighttime and I need to wind down. Sometimes I don't even remember to start cooking dinner or eating until 8 o'clock just because it's so light out. Do you have tips about that? Or is it because we're in the summer months, it's sort of like that 10 o'clock can slip and be a little later? How does that work?
Yeah, I think there's some flex with it, right? Like it's not hard and rigid. Ayurveda isn't about rigidity and rules. It's about listening to the rhythm that is most effective for you to be in. It's like, what's your dance, right? Is your dance fast? Is it slow? Is it mindful? Is it hurried? Is it stressed? Is it peaceful? Like how do you dance?
And while it's not about rigidity and rules, I think what you are telling us is that it is about once you find your personal dance, that we want to try to be consistent with it, that there's a value in consistency, same bedtime, same wake up, same, perhaps types of food.
Absolutely. And then when we have like a night where we're up late for whatever reason, we're not going to get knocked over because of that. It'll be like, oh, my body has a strong foundation and it's built up this resiliency that a late night out or, a late meal, these kinds of things, aren't going to destroy your health and knock you out of balance so far.
This is great. So we've talked about the morning. We've talked about some of our meals, which of course are going to be pretty personalized when we eat them and what we're eating according to our doshas. And then what about winding down and bedtime? Because I don't know about you, but for me with my community and people I teach, like falling asleep is just such a struggle for people. It's like, especially in the Vata world in which we live in, right? It's like, how do we unplug? How do we get away from the screens? How do we wind down and turn our mind off at night? I think is a huge struggle for people. So what ideas do you have for us around that?
Yeah, it's a big deal, especially as I mentioned earlier, your day begins the night before. So that preparation for bed has an effect on your quality of sleep, how easy you can get to sleep. It is really important. I like to think of it like if anyone has children, you'll know that you can't just have your kid bouncing off the walls and then throw them into bed and expect that they're going to fall asleep. You put them in the bath and you read them a bedtime story and maybe you rub their feet and you talk to them and you cut. Like there's a whole process for getting a child to wind down and go to bed. And I don't know why adults think we're any different because we're not in some respects. Like we need time to, like you say, turn the mind off, to slow down. A lot of us are revving in that sympathetic nervous system state, that fight or flight, where we're just, go, on edge all day, maybe not even aware of how we're breathing or tension that's accumulating in the body. So we can't just turn that off. Like it's impossible to go from 100 to 0. So I recommend to people at least an hour before that 10 o'clock bedtime, get off screens. That blue light from TVs, from screens, it's canceling out, it's cutting out the melatonin, it's really disrupting the hormonal function of the body and is going to set you up for a more difficult time to fall asleep. So get off screens, maybe you dim the lights or light some candles or listen to some nice music or do some yin yoga postures or some gentle stretching or alternate nostril breathing, the Nadi Shodhana practice, or read something that's uplifting, that's going to be a nice way to enter into your sleep, or journal, especially if you've got a lot of mental activity. Write, clear it out so that you can sort of empty out the trash before you try and go to bed. Otherwise, what happens is we lie down in bed and then we're thinking and worrying and tossing and turning, and the mind is keeping us agitated and keeping the nervous system moving, and then we can't settle. Other tips I have for bed preparation is to oil the soles of the feet. So what you do is take some oil. You can take organic sesame oil, and unprocessed, not the toasted kind, just a natural sesame oil that you get at Whole Foods or the health food store. Rub that, massage that into the soles of the feet. What that does, it brings the prana, like it brings this excess energy down from the thinking mind and grounds the energy into the feet. So you can massage that into the soles of the feet and then slip on some old cotton socks just so you don't stain the sheets. Now for the fire, for the really heated people, you might choose coconut oil because it's a little bit more cooling for people that are very overheated. So massage that into the soles of your feet. You can use something like lavender essential oil and put some drops on your pillow. Chamomile tea, warm milk with nutmeg is an Ayurvedic tip. I know there's a whole thing about milk. A lot of people don't want to have dairy, but you could do an almond milk or have a little bit of milk with powdered nutmeg in there. It's going to be very soothing and calming to the nervous system. People that have really, real challenge with insomnia and have had that for a long time, it's going to be a deeper process to come back. I recommend something called Yoga Nidra, which is a practice that changes the brainwave state so that we can go into a more relaxed brainwave state. And even if that person doesn't fall asleep, they're still moving into that theta brainwave state and getting rejuvenation. It's said that 30 minutes of Yoga Nidra is approximate to about 4 hours of sleep. So people that wake up in the night, I say, just put the Yoga Nidra on. Just listen to it.
Yep, just have a Yoga Nidra queued up on your phone for when you might need it. Yep.
Absolutely. And if the listeners are like, what's that or where do I get it? They can go to my website, and I've got free yoga nidra there that people can sign up for and receive. And it's a phenomenal practice, and one that even you can do when you get home from work and feel tired. It's very rejuvenating, and it also brings us back to working with that sankalpa, that intention, because it plants it into the mind when the mind is most fertile in that theta brainwave state.
So calling to mind that sankalpa as we do our bedtime routine and as we get ready for bed, also a great idea. And I think a big takeaway here, and something I love that you talked about, was the analogy to kids, right? How you really, it's almost like a seduction dance of getting the kids ready for bed, and that we're no different. And I know that the times when I really sleep well, it's like when I take that time, I think of it as like a self-seduction into sleep, right? It's like taking the long bath, letting myself have 20 minutes to read in bed with my essential oils going before I fall asleep, and being really disciplined to make the time for that. Because if you're going to do this whole song and dance with yourself, it could take an hour. As we said, it means that if you want to be in bed by 10, that needs to be happening by 9. And then start thinking about if you're cooking dinner and doing dishes and all those things, all of a sudden your timeline might have to shift a little bit, but it's so worth it.
It really is. And I think that's what allows people to move forward with these practices, is by starting to see the results and then reminding ourselves like, oh no, I want to be really hard-nosed about getting off social media and getting, that hour away from screens before bed, because I actually feel a difference in my life. And then we can remind ourselves why we're doing these things. It's not a punishment. It's like, because I want to feel better. I want more energy. I want deeper sleep. I want to have a better quality of life.
So this is a super juicy, loaded question I have for you, and it might be that it's different for everyone, but I'm really curious to ask you, because so many of the listeners, and of course us ourselves as well, are yoga practitioners. When is the best time, according to Ayurveda, or just in your experience with clients, to practice yoga, to do your perhaps heating, where you're building tapas type, perhaps vinyasa or hatha practice or kundalini practice?
Well, I think the best time to do your yoga practice is when you'll do it, right? It's like, just do it. And then when we get more refined in it, that morning time between 6 and 10 a.m. is the kapha time. In Ayurveda, we want to bring in opposite qualities to balance. So kapha is earth and water. It's heavy, it's sticky, it's slow moving. So to do a more heating, invigorating practice at that time would be the ideal time to be more dynamic, to bring the body to a gentle sweat, to kind of get things moving during that heavy time of day. But that's in the evening time is not the time to be doing a really stimulating practice before bed.
Right. I am a huge fan of morning practice, just because I find that, like so many things, the things that get done first are the ones that get done, right? So in addition to kapha, what you just said, and bringing a little heat, or doing maybe kind of your workout during those morning hours, you have the benefit on the Ayurvedic side, and also just practically that it will get done first, which is great. This has been the most fun chat. Before we let you go, I want you to just tell us a tiny bit, I would love to hear what your definition of energy medicine is, and how you define energy medicine in the context of Ayurveda, or within this Ayurvedic framework.
So to me, energy medicine is really about aligning our physical, mental, emotional, energetic bodies with our soul's greatest wisdom and path. And the second piece of that was in the context of Ayurveda. So I see everything as energy. So when people come to me with an illness, whether that be cancer, arthritis, colitis, whether it be something as seemingly simple as acne or indigestion, we have to see this as, where's the blockage in energy? Where's the blockage of prana? And that blockage of prana can come from stress, can come from an accident, can come from habitual thought patterns. So if we have a subconscious thought of, I'm not good enough, and that's running our whole life, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, why would the cells respond favorably to such a contractive thought or belief? So to me, Ayurveda is energy medicine. It's one and the same, and I really see through that lens, because I think we can't just stop at looking at the foods and the herbs, which often people think of Ayurveda as, oh, it's the foods and the herbs. Yes, that's true. And we are so much more than a physical body. So we have to look to everything that makes up who we are and how we're expressing in the world.
Would you say that through becoming more aware of some of the things we've talked about in today's episode, whether it's our sankalpa, what time we're getting up, what we're saying to ourselves, that we each as individuals can sort of be energy medicine practitioners?
Totally. I think we have to be our own energy medicine practitioner. And the beauty of these Ayurvedic practices is when it's not only just going through the motion of the practice, but we wake up to it. We become really present to what we're doing, whether it is just scraping our tongue. There are opportunities to spend more time in the present moment and to also see, oh, I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing something for my health, for my well-being. So much of our day is like out for our families and our bosses and to everyone else. So we have to fill up our cup. And these little milestones throughout our day of these practices are huge when it comes to us seeing that we have to make ourselves a priority and we have to listen. We have to really deeply listen. So working with the mind and the emotional body is your most powerful tool for healing yourself.
This has been so wonderful. I want you to make sure to tell everyone how they can get connected with you and learn more. Before we do that, silly question, I have to ask it before we get off. Can I just buy any tongue scraper here on Amazon, or is there like a specific brand or one that you recommend to your clients?
So again, everything depends. So the sterling silver tongue scraper is a little more cooling in quality. A copper tongue scraper is a little more heating. I have a silver tongue scraper that I bought from Banyan Botanicals years ago. It's like $10. You'll have it for your life. A fantastic investment. You can't go wrong. So that's what I would recommend.
I love Banyan Botanicals. Done. I think a lot of our listeners will know them as well.
I would veer away from the plastics, sometimes in a health.
That's what I was thinking because, it's like you're putting it in your body. And if it's, something you're going to use every single day, maybe we want to invest in something a little nicer. So, all right. Very good. Silver or copper?
People can reach me. My website is madhurimethod.com. That's MADHURI method.com. And as I mentioned before about the Yoga Nidra practice, if people do want to sign up to be part of my newsletter community, they'll instantly get some free gifts, a Yoga Nidra practice, a meditation, and a little self-care video on Ayurvedic self-care practices.
Wonderful. So we'll link that up right below the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to staying in touch with you from my heart to yours. Namaste. Sivana family, I would love to hear what you thought of this week's episode in the Sivana East Facebook group. You can find us on Facebook from SivanaEast.com, and you can join and have a discussion with me and other folks in the Sivana community about both this week's conversation and as well as what you'd like to hear in upcoming future episodes. I always love getting your requests and feedback, so make sure to join the community there and also ask any additional questions you have. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will speak to you next time. From my heart to yours, namaste.
You've been listening to the Sivana Podcast. To find out more about Sivana, go to SivanaSpirit.com or follow Sivana on Facebook at Facebook.com/Sivana Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at SivanaEast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Sivana Podcast.